Alright guys, question number 13, 14, 15, and 16. Alright, so this question guys wants you to calculate the roots and the vertex of a quadratic using technology. Alright, so we're going to be utilizing formulas to identify the roots and the vertex. Well, you guys already know how to find the vertex, guys. So let's actually do something a little brand new, which is finding the roots using the formula. Alright, so that formula is your quadratic formula. So to remember it, I normally use a song. So the song is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so again guys, we're going to use that formula. So that formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so in front of this x squared is a negative 1. That's your a, your b is 4, and your c is 96. Alright, so at times guys, I'll set this up like this, where I write negative parentheses plus or minus square root parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses. Alright, I should have used up my space a little bit better. All over 2 parentheses. What did I do, guys? I replaced all my letters with a parentheses. Okay? So now that it makes it easier to plug in the numbers. Alright? So for my B, I would plug in 4. Alright? For my B again, I would plug in 4. For my A, I would plug in negative 1. For my C, I would plug in 96. And then for my A, I would plug in negative 1. So now let's calculate, guys. So let's calculate. So you can put this in your calculator, but I'm going to take the longer route. So technically in front of here is a negative 1. Negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. Or you can say that it stays as a negative, all right? But again, in front of here, technically is a negative 1. Negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. Plus or minus square root, all right? 4 squared is 16, because that's 4 times 4. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. And 4 times 96 will give me positive 384. All right, so this will give me positive 384. All over 2 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 2. Alright, so you can go ahead and plug all this in your calculator and it will give you a result. Alright, I'm going to take the longer route, however. Okay, so the negative 4 I'm going to bring down, plus or minus 16 plus 384. So plus 16 will give me 400. So I'd have the square root of 400 over negative 2. Okay, so when I calculate all of this, guys, and if I was supposed to put this in my calculator, this is what I would put in my calculator. All right, I would put negative 4 plus the square root of 400 all over negative 2. Okay, and then I would put negative 4 minus the square root of 400 all over negative 2. Alright, so you put both of them in. Okay, so when we calculate this, guys, this is what we would end up getting, guys. Alright, so if I put this in my calculator, you should end up. So when I plug this right here into my calculator, I would get negative 8. Alright, and when you represent it as a root, it would be negative 8, 0. Alright, so now I'm going to plug this right here in my calculator. Alright, so when I plug that into my calculator, I would get 12. Alright, and then whenever you're representing a root, the y has to be 0. Alright, so again, this right here will give me negative 8. This right here will give me positive 12. So negative 8, 0, 12, 0. This right here, the y will always be 0. Alright, so now we're going to try to find the vertex. That's a little easier because that's something you already know how to do. Okay, so we're going to use our formula, which is x equal negative b over 2a, and then plug it back in. So I would have negative parentheses, or negative 1 parentheses over 2 parentheses. Alright, my b is 4 My A is negative 1. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 4 divided by negative 2, a negative divided by negative gives me a positive 2. Alright, so the x value for that vertex is positive 2. All I need to do now is find the y value of that vertex by plugging it back into my equation. So I'd have negative 1 parentheses squared plus 4 parentheses plus 96. And what do you think is going to go inside of the parentheses? The positive 2. Alright? So when I calculate that, guys, alright, I'm gonna do this in my head. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then the positive 96, I'm gonna rewrite it, okay? Negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4. 4 plus 96 is 100. Alright? So the y value for that vertex is 100. Alright? And that is how you do that question. Alright, guys, so let's try this. So when I look at the next question, guys, alright, just for organization basis, I'm going to find the vertex first, and then I'm going to find the roots, okay? So when I find the vertex, guys, what formula do I use? Do I use the negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a? No, that's the formula you use to find roots, alright? The formula you use to find vertex, or the x and y value of vertex, alright, is negative b over 2a. Then you plug it back in. So that's how you find the x value, and then the y value, you plug it back in. So plug in. Okay? So let's try to find that vertex first, okay? So to find vertex, okay, I'm going to first find the x value by doing negative b over 2a. At times I write it like negative 1 parentheses over 2 parentheses. Alright, and you know that your a is 5, your b is 80, and your c is negative 283. So for my b, I'll plug in 80. For my a, I'll plug in 5. Negative 1 times positive 80 is negative 80. 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 80 divided by positive 10 is negative 8. So the x value of said vertex is negative 8. Alright? So now we're going to find the y value by plugging in the negative 8. So I would have 5 parentheses squared plus 80 parentheses minus 283. And what's going to go inside of the parentheses, guys? The negative 8. Alright, so I'm going to plug in the negative 8. You can put all this in the calculator and let it calculate it for you. I'm going to use my mini calculator. So negative 8 squared is negative 8 times negative 8, which is positive 64. And 64 multiplied by 5 will give me 320. Okay? 80 times negative 8, so 80 times negative 8 gives me negative 640. And the negative 283, you bring it down. Alright? So now we're going to calculate 320 minus 640. Alright? Then minus 283 will give me negative 603. Alright? So this will give me negative 603. So the x value of my vertex is negative 8. And the y value of my vertex is negative 603. Okay? So now we're going to find the roots, alright, by using a different formula. So that formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright? So I'm going to set up my form just like I did right here. I'm not going to rewrite the formula. I'm just going to set up my form. So my form looks something like this, where it will be negative 1 parentheses plus or minus square root, alright, of parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses all over 2 parentheses, alright? And guys, I have a question. Why did I replace or what did I do when I replaced all those parentheses? I replaced all the letters with a parentheses. Okay? So anytime I saw a letter, I saw a B, I replaced with a parentheses. A B, I replaced with a parentheses. I left the -4, I replaced A with a parentheses, and I replaced C and A with parentheses. Okay? So inside of that parentheses, I'm going to plug in these numbers. So my B is 80. My B again, which is what I would plug in here, is 80. My A is 5. Okay, so my A is 5. Okay. My C is -283. So -283. Okay. And my A again is 5. Okay. So now I'm going to put this in my calculator. You can put all this in your calculator, but I'm going to do it a little step by step. Okay. So -1 times 80 is -80. Plus or minus, the plus or minus sign means that it could be a positive or a negative. Okay? Square root, 80 squared is 80 times 80, and 80 times 80 is 600 or 6,400. Alright? So I would have 6,400. Alright? Now I'm going to multiply here. -4 times 5 is -20. Alright? And -20 multiplied by -283, so multiplied by -283 gives me positive 5,660. So that gives me positive 5,660. Alright? All over 2 times 5 is 10. Now I would put this in my calculator. Alright guys, so if I put this in my calculator, so this is what I would type in my calculator, -80 plus the square root. You can add these together, you get 120,600 or 12,060, sorry, right? All over 10, and then -80 minus the square root of that same number over 10. Alright, when it's a positive, alright, so when we added it, okay, when there's a positive here, I got 2.981. So again, I got 2.981. Okay, and then when you make it now a negative, I get, so again, when it's a negative, I got -18.981. Alright, so 18.981. Okay, so those are our two roots or two x values. Alright, it says round to 3 decimal places. These are already in 3 decimal places, so my answers are 2.9810 and -18.981. Okay, so again guys, just like that. So again, this is quite very difficult guys, so make sure you guys do all the practice necessary.